Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm David Knight. It's Monday, February the 3rd, 2014, and here are our top stories.
Tonight,
investigate 9/11. 9/11 was perpetrated by people within our own government.
a 9/11 truther crashes the post-Super Bowl press conference. Meanwhile, details emerge that Seahawks coach Pete Carroll has 9/11 questions of his own. Plus, cold-blooded Arizona cops assassinate a suspect with his hands in the air. All that and more up next on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
Well, it's the day after the Super Bowl, and we've just witnessed what in America looks like the Soviet Union's old May Day parades. We've got all this pageantry, most of it now about the police state and the military-industrial complex. And over the weekend, agencies like Fox News were just ecstatic about it, reporting breathlessly in admiration about the police state that was coming out. They said TSA agents demonstrate how dogs can sniff out many types of explosions. Now, these are a couple of dozen canines that they train at $200,000 a piece. So you're talking about $5 million worth of dogs here, but they've also added 200 screeners at Newark. And of course, these untrusty fans will only be allowed to carry small clutch bags or purses no bigger than 6.5 by 4.5 inches in a clear plastic bag, about as big as a freezer storage bag. That's the NFL's policy. You know, you got to keep an eye on all those untrustworthy Americans, because if they don't have a uniform, you can't trust them, just like in a dictatorship. But they also talk about how they had a 24-hour FBI command center, and they've got radiation detectors, and of course, surveillance cameras everywhere. Now, we had also reported on this last week. Kurt Nemo had written an article talking about how they were going to have the flyover of F-16s, $100,000 for that, plus some choppers. Just nothing but a Pentagon PR campaign. But of course, the Pentagon says, oh, that was requested by the NFL. It's very hard to tell where the NFL billionaires stop and the military begins. It's becoming increasingly more and more difficult. But, you know, what could go wrong with all of that security everywhere? Well, we had an inkling on Sunday morning. CBS goes by and takes a look at this vaunted security system, again, doing another dog and pony show, the mainstream media building up the police state for them. And look at what happens. They get a screenshot of the Wi-Fi password for the security center for the Super Bowl. Oops. And guess what? Look at their password. Welcome here. Of course, they are a little bit clever about that. They put the 3s backwards, but I don't think you even need the NSA to crack that password. Now, the guy who wrote about this on Yahoo Sports says, well, it's a small error, but if that's the biggest snafu of the Super Bowl, then the security staff did their job. Well, it got a lot worse than that, because after the game was over, we had a lone wolf journalist drop a video bomb on the Super Bowl. Alex talked to him on the radio show today, and we have an interview with him on the Nightly News, so stay tuned. He's going to tell us how he got through that vaunted security system. Now, the most important thing that we take away from this is the same information we should have taken away from the TSA revelations last week. If you remember, Paul Joseph Watson had an article about the blog of a former TSA agent. And one of the things that really stuck out about this, of course, besides the waste of the money and the fact that it's nothing but security theater, is that they were very much aware of John Corbett's video demonstrating that their machines didn't work at all if you have weapons on your side. They're very much aware of John Corbett. They're very much aware of his lawsuit. When he had a lawsuit that resulted in the discovery process, the government posted up the unredacted version as well as a redacted version on pacer.gov, where they list all lawsuits. And they showed that the TSA's own internal documents admitted that there was no threat against either airports or airplanes. They subsequently put a gag on him, even though they were the ones who posted it. So we know there's no real security threat, and they know that there's no real security threat, but that doesn't stop them from doing it. As Kurt Nemo pointed out today on INFOWARS, he said the threat is really an all-encompassing police state and a control grid. You see, the NSA, the TSA, the Homeland Security, all these Viper teams, what they're really doing is terrorizing and robbing American citizens. They're terrorizing us and they're robbing us of our money as well as our rights. You know, one of the prices that we pay for people who don't care about losing their privacy, about losing their liberty, about losing their due process, maybe they care about living in a country where they have a crumbling infrastructure. One of the other things that came out last night, after the game, there was an unconfirmed reports of an explosion in New York. People started tweeting about this on Twitter. And what it turned out to be was a gas leak. Now, this is happening fairly regularly in New York. In New York and Los Angeles, the infrastructure is crumbling. It's crumbling everywhere. The bridges are crumbling throughout the nation. But of course, we can spend $5 million on bomb sniffing dogs. That's not even a good buy for dog trainers. You can get dog trainers a lot cheaper than that to teach dogs how to sniff bombs. We're paying phenomenal amounts of money for this show. It's nothing but a dog and pony show, literally. And we're also losing our liberties. Even though these guys are Keystone Cops, that doesn't mean that they're not dangerous. Look at this story out of Arizona. This is where the police state heads. They're not only robbing us of our money, they're not only robbing us of our liberty, they're killing people and getting away with it. They know they can do it. They know there's going to be no consequences. It's getting more and more dangerous for everyone on the streets. In this video, we have a man who, as the Daily Sheeple points out, for absolutely no reason other than because they could, cops in Pinal County, Arizona, executed a suspect who was standing there, not near any officer, with his hands in the air, offering no threat whatsoever, and without trial, judge, or jury, they simply assassinated the man as his family looked on in horror. This is disgusting. If you see this, this is the price that we really pay for this security state, for this police state, for this military-industrial complex that has gone crazy. And how many people do we see killed in the United States? There's a story that we also had on INFOWARS today from allgov.com, and they asked that question. They said, why should that kind of a question require any detective work at all? Because it's very difficult to find that answer. It's that there's currently no national statistics on how many people are shot by the police each year. Frankly, the best that you can do is to write a story about the lack of information. I know because I've tried to find this information in the past myself. There is no reliable information about this. They don't keep statistics on how many people they kill. Now, just before the Super Bowl, a lot of alternative media was also asking questions about what was going to happen, and Breitbart asked why nobody was interested that the Seahawks coach might be a truther before the Super Bowl. The reason they were asking that was because 6 months ago, Deadspin.com picked up an article where they said late last spring, that would be a year ago approximately, a retired General Peter Chiarelli, who had just finished his term as the Army's Vice Chief of Staff, visited the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. And the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks had a lot of questions about 9/11. As they report here, in particular, Carroll wanted to know whether the attack on the Pentagon had really happened, but he didn't stop there. He ran through the whole 9/11 truther litany. And according to Ricky Ellison, a former NFL linebacker who now runs the Missile Defense Advocacy Alliance, he was the one who introduced Carroll to the former general. He said, every 9/11 conspiracy theory you can think of, Pete asked about it. And apparently the meeting ended not on very good terms. But nobody asked about that in the aftermath of the Super Bowl, leading up to it, or even after Matthew Mills dropped the video bomb. Don't want to talk about that, do they? What they want are mindless demonstrations from Super Bowl fans like we saw in Seattle in the wake of the win. Paul Joseph Watson points out the decadence of Seahawk fans running riot after a Super Bowl victory. He says, in another shameful reminder of Americans who care more about sports than the future of their own country, Seattle Seahawk fans reacted to their team's victory by behaving like animals, destroying property, lighting fires. Well, unfortunately, that's exactly the kind of person and exactly the kind of reaction that the beer and circuses of the Super Bowl are intended to create. Now, hang on. Right after the break, we're going to talk to Jakari Jackson about how you can get into the Super Bowl without tickets. And then we're also going to talk to Matthew Mills, the lone bomber of the Super Bowl media event. Stay tuned.
Symbols are powerful, and the globalists have hijacked the symbols of America. They've turned them into their own symbols. Well, we are restoring the idea of the true republic, not the counterfeit globalist empire, by promoting the icon George Washington and others. That's why we're rolling out an 100% made in America line of incredible pro-liberty apparel. We are repopularizing liberty We are helping fellow Americans rediscover what made this country great. We are the spirit of 1776. We are 1776 worldwide. We are all brothers and sisters in arms in the animating contest of liberty in the long march towards humanity's ultimate destiny of freedom. Visit madein1776.com today and vote with your dollars to promote truly made in America, high-quality products, and promote the ideals of liberty. Alex Jones here to tell you about how you can help spread liberty worldwide while also enjoying what I have found to be the best tasting 100% organic coffee on the planet. For more than a decade, my favorite coffee has come from the high mountains of southern Mexico, where the Chiapas farmers grow their unique shade-grown Arabica beans. We have now managed to secure these sought-after beans in a highly customized blend. Discover and try a bag of the Patriot Blend 100% organic coffee at InfoWarsLife.com. This coffee gives you a long, smooth pick-me-up for hours without the headaches and heartburn that so many other coffees give me personally. Hands down, this is my favorite coffee, and it's taken us years to secure connections directly to the Chiapas Mexican farmers. Drop by the site today, order a bag or two, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Available in original or with our immune support infusion blend. You will be supporting a free press, all the while enjoying a truly great-tasting cup of my favorite coffee. Available at InfoWarsLife.com.
Well, as you know, if you watch InfoWars or the Alex Jones radio show, Jakari Jackson and Josh Owens went to the Super Bowl to report what they saw there, and Jakari is back along with Josh, and we wanted to get your first impressions, Jakari, what it was like to go to the Super Bowl, because most of us haven't been to the Super Bowl. What's your quick first impressions? And then we want to talk about the police state that you saw there.
Well, it is very much the big entertainment extravaganza. It did not disappoint as far as the cosmetics are concerned, but it also did not disappoint as far as our expectations of the police state. We went to New York, the New York, New Jersey area, MetLife Stadium, to talk about the police state measures at the Super Bowl. 3,000 plus security personnel from various agencies, all in the New York, New Jersey area. You had the Border Patrol flying helicopters around. You had guys with AR-15s in the train stations.
How about that F-16 flyover?
Well, that F-16 flyover we missed while we were on the train because we had to take the train because they funneled 30,000 people on the train to the MetLife Stadium there, and it was very. I was very much confused why they were forcing people to basically take the train or the bus when they had a pretty much wide open parking lot, David. They had police cars sprinkled throughout, but the majority of the parking lot was empty.
Well, it's a great dry run for a martial law. They had a nice dry run to get masses of people in with the trains and buses into a stadium where we know they like to collect people. And then how long does it take to get them out? It's a good benchmark. Just like not too long ago, they released some gas in the New York subway so they could see what effect that was going to have on people. So they like to do these little experiments on their subjects. But, you know, it seems to me that they really lost sight of the main thing. You know, when you're at the Super Bowl, you would think that maybe one of the main things they would want to check for would be a ticket. But they didn't check your ticket, you know, and it's like the police state has lost track also, more importantly, of what the main thing is. That's the Constitution. But tell us about this whole ticket thing.
This complete security theater. Now, I'll tell you guys a story. So to get on the train, you had to present your ticket, not have it scanned, not have it really inspected. You just show our ticket right here. And all we did was present it to the guy. You know, he didn't check it. He didn't scan the barcode. We just presented it to his face. He said, oh, your ticket's good. We hop on the train. We go out there. And after we got off the train, from the train into the stadium, we were not asked a single time to present a ticket to anybody. Because I told Josh Owens, our camera guy, I said, Josh, let's see how far we can get into the stadium without having to show a ticket. We got all the way into our seats.
Well, you told me before, though, that there were people out, once you showed them that ticket,
Good
when
point.
you got to the stadium, people were there trying to buy a ticket. So they got there without even flashing it to anybody.
So somebody else got there, you know, guys out there trying to buy the last-minute tickets, right? And to get there, they wanted you to present a ticket, and they didn't want you to drive your personal vehicles. You couldn't even get a permit if you did not have a ticket. So that's even more theater. So we got in without showing a ticket. People made it to the stadium without showing a ticket. And then you have the 9/11 truther who crashes the press conference. No ticket, no pass, walks straight in, gets his question in. Complete security theater.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just a total fake presentation. It's there to scare people. It's there to impress people. They're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's a success, David, because nobody got blown up. You know, there's no shooting, mass shooting. So they're going to take this as a great success. They're going to do this bigger and better every single year.
But what's scary about it isn't just the cops showing off their canines that they spent $200,000 a piece to train, but you got the military out there spending massive amounts of money just to impress the American people with military might. Why? Because they're going to roll that out against us. I mean, we can continue to see the military used domestically here against us. They're going to bring it back because it's all about money. Just like one last thing, you said when you went to the airport, they just turned off the TSA scanners.
Because there was such a massive influx of people, you know, of course, people going home from the Super Bowl. So we went through the TSA check, and I was going to opt out like I always do. They said, oh, you don't have to opt out because the scanner's off. You can walk straight through. You can leave your shoes on, too.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
Totally phony. We'll be right back after the break with an interview with Matthew Mills. He's the guy who got in without a ticket and went right up to the MVP desk, took the mic away from the MVP of the NFL, and put out a video bomb about 9/11. Stay tuned.
My friends, Alex Jones here to tell you about some of the most important information concerning you and your family's health. Radiation levels have more than doubled in the last 60 years in the Northern Hemisphere from all of the nuclear testing and radiological accidents. Radioactive contamination is now in most of the food supply. There's only two ways to avoid this. Move south of the equator or properly protect your thyroid with nascent iodine. Looking to protect my family, I've done deep research. Nascent iodine is the purest, cleanest, absolute best form of iodine to protect yourself and your family. It's made right here in the USA, completely non-GMO. I searched out the best quality and now have developed a double-strength form of nascent iodine, exclusively available at INFOWARSLife.com. Nascent iodine is on record as one of the only safe ways to detox from fluoride poisoning. Survival Shield Nascent Iodine. Secure your super high-quality nascent iodine today at INFOWARSLife.com. That's INFOWARSLife.com.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run. And the InfoWars army is standing strong. Wake up your family, friends, and neighbors and break the matrix at InfoWarsStore.com. Learn the truth and spread the message of liberty with the world's most comprehensive collection of books and documentary films. Maintain a healthy metabolism and energize your body to perform at peak health with Survival Shield Nascent Iodine. Protect your family and be prepared with survival foods and emergency preparedness kits. And now you can drink safe water with your own ProPure water filtration system, which removes fluoride and other harmful chemicals from your family's water supply. Save 10% with the promo code WATER. So join the revolution. InfoWarsStore.com.
Investigate 9/11. 9/11 was perpetrated by people within our own government.
All right. Is everybody all right?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, there was a bomb at the Super Bowl, a video bomb. We had an independent journalist, Matthew Mills, drop a major information bomb at the Super Bowl at the press conference for the most valuable player. What he did was demonstrate single-handedly how futile, how ineffective the police state, the security state is. And he questioned the narrative, the fundamental idea that it's based on, that we have to do this because of 9/11. And here's Matthew Mills. Well, that was quite amazing what you did there at the Super Bowl. We've heard all of this stuff about all the security, the F-16s, we got $200,000 canine dogs, and yet you were able to get in and drop this video bomb on the MVP. That's kind of like going to the inaugural and getting up and leaning over and grabbing the mic of the president.
Almost, yeah. Not quite, but yeah, almost.
That's right. So with all this security, you were able to get in just by telling them that you were late. You were surprised at this, weren't you? You'd kind of believed the security would be tighter as well, didn't you? Absolutely.
I had no idea I would actually get into the Super Bowl. I didn't plan on it. I tried, and I got in, and I was really surprised, and it was awesome being in there. But no, I had no idea. Now, you told Alex about this on the radio show, but just briefly recount how you got in for us. I took the employee bus to the parking lot of the stadium because you weren't even allowed on the premises without a ticket. And then I walked in the first gate saying I was an employee. And then there was a metal detector in there. I went through that, and then they had to scan the ticket. They said that you don't have the right pass. I said, I've been taken care of. I got to go. I'm late. And they said, okay. Then I got in. Then I got in the next gate by saying the same thing. And then later in the day, because I was there very early. I left my house at about 6 a.m. that day. And right around 1:30 or so, I was able to use that technique to get into the Super Bowl. It really wasn't hard. I mean, other people could have done it. It's basically just shows the lack of real security they have.
Absolutely. Their real job is to get people afraid, not to protect people, but to get them afraid. And you dropped really kind of a couple of bombs. Your presence being there showed people that there really isn't any effective security, that it's just simply theater. But then you also dropped the bomb about why we have this in the first place, the phony 9/11 attacks.
Yeah.
Now, tell us, when you went in early in the morning. You didn't get caught up in all of the crowd from the people who were going on the buses and trying to get in through the gates normally. You just went in through the employee side, right?
I went in early with the employees, so that was kind of my way. I went in early that morning with the employees, and that's probably the reason I was able to get in. I think maybe later in the day they wouldn't have let anyone in without a ticket. I think early in the morning maybe it was easier.
Well, you know, actually, our reporters, Jakari Jackson and his cameraman Josh,
I heard about
were able to go in. Yeah, they didn't ask them for their ticket either. They were so preoccupied with all this other nonsense that I wonder how many people got into the Super Bowl without paying for a ticket, without even having one.
I'm sure someone else could have snuck in easily if I did.
Now,
honestly,
the reason that you said you were going there was because you wanted to talk to people about the Illuminati halftime performances, get their opinion about what they saw last year. And did you talk to them after the halftime? You watched the entire game, right?
I watched the entire game, but the entire game I was up on the upper level walking around and around and around, and I interviewed all kinds of people about the Illuminati. So my mission was still accomplished. I just interviewed people inside instead of outside. So I got a lot of good footage that was all deleted, by the way, from the cops.
Right. And do you think you can recover that? You mentioned that might be a possibility. You've talked to someone about that?
Someone's coming over today, and they're going to take a look at that, and hopefully we'll be able to get that recovered.
That's great. Yeah, one of the things that we've looked at is, if you get a service like Ustream, you can live stream that, and even if they confiscate your camera, delete the stuff, if you have one of the packages that they have there, it'll save it up on the cloud. So you're kind of.
I think even the free Ustream saves it, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, you have to. It'll save it, but you have to. You have to save it and end it that way. Whereas with the other one, if they just confiscated it, it's still there. But there's a lot of tools out there. What's coming, though, of course, is Google has just put out a patent request where they could look and see where there's a lot of people that are streaming something, and then they could hand that over to the police. And if the police don't like people streaming stuff from one location, they can essentially shut down cell phone service to that area. So it's going to be measures, countermeasures. That's what we're going to see coming on all along. But the key thing is that you did this and you asked the questions because the mainstream media is not asking the questions. Actually, people have pointed out.
The Super Bowl was in New York also, so there was relevance to the question.
Yes, and people had pointed out that the Seattle Seahawks head coach had questions himself about 9/11, but of course, nobody in the mainstream media was going to ask him any questions about that.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the Illuminati angle that you got with people. Even though you don't have that footage, tell us what you found out from them.
Well, most people had no idea what the Illuminati was. Right now, Illuminati is very popular, so most people have heard about the Illuminati, but the people I talked to in there have never even heard of the Illuminati. So, a lot of hardcore football fans, I guess, don't really care about the Illuminati, but some people did. The couple I ended up sitting next to, I asked them these questions, and they were very awake, and they knew about this kind of stuff. And a couple other people, one guy in particular, one of the questions I asked was, 33 gay and straight couples were married at the Grammys a week ago. Last year at the halftime show, the lights went out for 33 minutes. And February 2nd is the 33rd day of the year. I said, is that a coincidence? And it's just a question. You know, it's kind of interesting. It could be true, it could be not. And most of the people had no idea what I was talking about. But one guy didn't think it was a coincidence, and I guess believed in the Illuminati. And I kind of try to stay objective about the Illuminati. But if you looked at the last couple of halftime shows, it's either A, there is an Illuminati, or B, they're using Illuminati symbolism to sell the show. And that was one of my other questions. I said, you know, all this blatant Illuminati symbolism the past 2 years, are they just trying to sell the show, or is there something deeper going on? That was one of my questions.
It's definitely there. It wasn't as blatant this year as it has been in the past, but the Mark Dice video that we had on InfoWars points out some of the symbolism that's there. The idea that they got children singing as Bruno Mars is talking about sex locks him out of heaven, you know, not having it. And so, you know, pulling in all of that and the symbols in the back, the triangular
well,
symbolism.
did you see the word they flashed, prepare?
Yeah.
Prepare.
Right. Yeah.
Prepare.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was creepy. Being there, because there was all these black people in the black costumes. And I don't know, I wasn't as bad as the past couple of years, but I mean, I noticed some stuff.
Well, it certainly was interesting, and I think when we look at things like this song that was nominated for Best Song of the Oscars being removed because it came from an independent Christian film, I'm sure that would really rain on the parade of the Illuminati-type satanic worship symbols that we see at all of the award ceremonies now, not just the Super Bowl, not just the Grammys. It seems to be everything. They're throwing it in our face, and as you pointed out, the question is, why? Why do we keep seeing this over and over again? But you did a great job, Matthew, and one of the things I think that was most amazing was the fact that this MVP player who's just been out fighting with these massive guys on the football field, he seemed really startled and taken back, and he asked, is everybody okay? It was like you were some kind of a threat to him or something. So
I don't know what he thought.
Yeah. Well, you did a great job getting the information out there, and just your presence spoke volumes about what nonsense the security theater is at the Super Bowl. Thank you so much, Matthew, for your work.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, Matthew Mills did a great job of pointing out the obvious. Government cannot make you safe. They can get all the F-16s circling the Super Bowl. They can have all the dogs sniffing everybody, but they don't even check people for their ticket. And the other thing that he's pointing out is the false narrative of 9/11. Just as Dan Bidandi pointed out the idea of a false flag, now people may look at this and take another look at it. We've seen articles in the mainstream media that poke fun at the whole idea that 9/11 was a government-staged event in order to create a security state, as we now see happening. But at the same time, we've seen some of these same articles, even though they will dismiss that as nonsense, they will still talk about, well, you know, it's not as crazy as some people may think, because we have this thing called Operation Northwoods, where the government plotted to do exactly that in the early 1960s, using drone planes to fly them into skyscrapers and blame it on terrorist events so they could attack Cuba. Well, if you want to keep up with the news, if you want to understand why we're concerned about the police state, if you want to follow this information as it builds, a great way to keep current with the news, to understand what's going on. If you don't know anything about Operation Northwoods, if maybe you think that 9/11 was a real event, if maybe you think that the security state can protect you, sign up to Prison Planet TV, and you can share that information with your friends if you know about it. Up to 10 people can watch simultaneously at the same time, and it supports our operation. Well, that's it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
More than 60 movies and documentaries all in one place at Infowars.com/show.
Over the past weekend, a group of thugs beat up a couple of hippies across the street from here. Now, we're here at the police headquarters, which is at 7th and I-35 here in Austin, Texas, and we're going to walk over there just to show you how quickly the police could have arrived on the scene.
Had the police responded, they would have discovered what the mainstream media deems a hate crime. Except the lamestream media only reports such events when the races are reversed. They cower in fear over the prospect of reporting on racism that doesn't fit Obama's agenda to use race as a political weapon.
It's actually taking longer. If we had just gone in a straight line, it would have taken a lot less time. Of course, police can go any direction they want.
Just last week, Obama declared that he had been painted as a caricature by media exploring alternative viewpoints concerning the myriad of scandals President Obama is involved in. Clearly, we are reigniting a culture of racism in today's youth, brazenly evident in the barrage of black-on-white attacks deemed as the knockout game.
Okay, here we are. Didn't take that long. Yeah, we sped the tape up a little bit, but I'm not winded. And all they had to do was jump in one of their many tax-paid-for cars over there and mosey on over here and break that up. And maybe the police aren't at fault. Maybe they didn't know about it. Maybe the thugs got away with the beatdown. Nobody called them. But the mainstream media has gone on to say that it was not a racial attack. It's just an attack because it was black on white. Now, when white's on black, it's racial. If white people beat up black people, it's a horrible racial incident, right? Horrible. And it's been happening in our country throughout the history of our country. Now, when black people beat up white people and another black guy, it's not a racial attack.
It is.
Why is racism coming back? I thought it went away 20 years ago. Why is it coming back?
I mean, it always comes and goes. It likes to hang out, marinate, and then it comes back. But I think for the most part, people aren't really racist. It just seems that way.
I mean, there's nothing I can do about the mainstream media.
Stop watching, I guess.
I don't.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. Is it more interesting to you as a news viewer if it's white people on black people or black people on white people?
I wouldn't say it's more interesting one way or the other.
Well, they seem to think it is. Mainstream media seems to think it's a lot more interesting when it's white people on black people.
Well, of course, it sells.
Violence against anybody because of their race it's unacceptable. I don't even see why people think that way anymore.
Mainstream media provides us with a divisive tone reverberating from the mouths of political leaders struggling to gain a foothold in popular opinion by the age-old technique of divide and conquer. In the words of George Orwell, ignorance is strength.